Greetings. On behalf of Wednesdays for Water, an initiative of the W4W Foundation, a think tank instituted as Citizens Collective, we welcome you to the 99th session of Wednesdays for Water. And today's session is focused on coral reef ecosystems and underwater paradise and its threats and its conservation. The objective of Wednesdays for Water is to engage in conversation with water experts, grassroots practitioners, policymakers, and youth to explore the complex intertwined issues associated with water and the possible solutions. We have expanded since then to have more activities like Friday Waters. In there, we have water talkies, water arts, book reading club, and the thesis club. And in addition, we also do Monday Munching with Women for Water on every Monday, 5 p.m. Besides organizing water workshops, walks and talks, seminars, special courses, and conference panels to continue the conversation on water. You may like to visit our website at www.w4w.in for more details, and I have shared all the social media links in the chat box. For today, the Water and Biodiversity Series, which we have started since February, we have with us Dr. Jayati, Chourey, Executive Director of SaciWATERs, Dr. C.H. Satyanarayana, and we have Dr. R. Chandran, and we have Smyrna Dorcas to discuss the subject today. The session will be moderated by Dr. Jayati Chourey, so I will welcome her very soon to take on the lead for the session. Jayati is Executive Director at the South Asia Consortium for Interdisciplinary Water Resource Studies, which is SaciWATERs. She holds a PhD in ecosystem-based integrated water resource management under the discipline of forest ecology and environment from IIFM Bhopal and from FRI Dehradun. So with much waiting, thank you all of you, all the participants, for your patience for the delay today. So I hand it over to Jayati to take the session forward. Over to you, Jayati.
Hello. Thank you so much, Mansi, for the introduction and providing me with this opportunity to design and host this special series on water and biodiversity. I would like to welcome all of you to today's session. So before we start this today's session, I would like to provide you a brief introduction about this series. So the sessions which are part of this series on water and biodiversity are organized on every second Wednesday. To provide you all with a background, this planet Earth, which is a home to a diversity of species, with human being one among them. Biodiversity is a term used to describe this immense variety of life on Earth that includes plants, animals, fungi, microorganisms, as well as the ecosystems they form and habitats in which they live. The biodiversity which we witness today is the result of 4.5 billion years of Earth's evolutionary process, which has increasingly been influenced by humans. Selected by nature, every species plays an integral role in the functioning of ecosystem and providing ecosystem services. However, human ego, ignorance, and lack of environmental ethics has led to the present existential crisis for planet Earth. In this context, a series on water and diversity was envisaged for every second Wednesday of the month to create and develop public awareness on aquatic biodiversity and their conservation status. This special series aims to take away the spotlight from modern humans, that is Homo sapiens sapiens, and shift it on another species with whom we share this planet. These sessions aim to bring the ecological perspective to the forefront, which is generally absent from mainstream anthropocentric water discourses. So this series was launched in February 2023, and we have already organized 3 online sessions of water and biodiversity series. The first one was on indigenous freshwater fish biodiversity of India. The second one was on sharks, rays, sea turtles, while the third session was on mammals in aquatic habitats. And in today's episode, we'll be discussing about another group of invertebrates, corals. So every session actually takes you to a new aquatic ecosystem and some amazing species. So in today's episode, the first talk will be delivered by Dr. Satyanarayana. So welcome to the session, Dr. Satyanarayana. Dr. Satyanarayana is a senior scientist with the Zoological Survey of India, and he has more than 36 years of experience working on corals. Here I would like to share something very interesting, that Dr. Satyanarayana has led the team of scientists who used solar, and this was like first one of the first initiatives in the world, that he led the team of scientists who used solar energy to save coral reefs in Gulf of Kutch by installing solar powered biorocks at the seabed to regenerate thousands of years old dead coral reef. And our second speaker, Dr. Chandran, was also part of this initiative. So let me welcome once again Dr. Satyanarayana. Over to you, Dr. Satyanarayana. Thank you so much for accepting our request to be a panelist for today's session. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Jayati. So now I'll share my presentation first. Okay, you can now, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Please do the slide. Yes. Yes, it works.
Yeah. Good evening, friends. Sorry for all this. We have to bear with all this electronic things.
Yes.
So after life, the most important thing for us is time. Okay, unfortunately, we have lost a very precious time because the organizers has given us 2020. It is difficult to play the whole thing within this 2020, but we will try to do something. But what kind of a promise I want from all of you is, we are sharing our valuable experience and time with you. So please be attentive. And after that, there are certain things you have to do. And please make it a point that you will also be sharing your time for making whatever we are doing now very much viable. Okay, so friends, now I'll start with this. You can see my presentation. The most important thing is, I have dived in all the major reef regions outside the country, like Great Barrier Reef, Australia. I have dived in the diverse Indonesia. I have dived in UK. I have dived in Japan, and in our country, India, I have dived in all the reef regions all along the coast. Okay, so with due apologies to modesty, I don't hesitate to say that if you want to have some kind of a solution or an answer related to coral reefs, I'm the person who can do that. So kindly be attentive and make this presentation a really useful one for every one of us, even for you. So what I have done environmental impact assessments, and most importantly, I'm from Zoological Survey of India. So as a taxonomist, I have trained many people, and I have published many books related to taxonomy. And I know I have trained people in biophysical monitoring. I have trained people in identifying the corals. And there is certain things which are unique things we have done, that is restoration of coral reefs. So friends, today I am actually going to speak about the coral reef ecosystems and our role. The most important thing is, don't think that this is a kind of a customary kind of a lecture, but what I'm going to tell you is a very pathetic, sad love story. Okay, take it as a love story. It's a very pathetic one, Whether it's pathetic or making it joyful is in our hands. And this story, if you really look into it, maybe the love story is more than 250 million years old. Maybe it's probably the first love story on Earth, and it may be the best when compared to the Romeo Juliet, Salim and Arcali, and Balu or Swapna love story. So please be attentive, listen to this, and there is a role for us to play, and kindly do that. So before going into the lecture, there are many fairer sex participants in this lecture. I would like to tell you one thing. You are more suitable for diving underwater than the male counterparts, than us. So you can see here by the side of me is Dr. Chandran. He is the renowned Acropora specialist. The majority of coral reefs are having, all the coral reefs are having the majority component of Acropora. So like that, there are many researchers in the world on coral reefs are women only. So friends, I appreciate the organizers because the awareness is very, very important. That too in a very important juncture of our life, because now the United States has declared 2021 to 30 as 2 decades. One is for sustainable ocean science development, and another is for ecosystem restoration. Because our ecosystems are all degrading. Our green planet, the lovely planet, the living planet is under threat. That means we are also under threat. So we have to save the ecosystems. And unfortunately, what this great man, Hubert Reeves, says is that man is the most insane species. We are all actually praying to God, but he says that the real God is none other than the nature. And I know that most of you will agree to this. So please be attentive. And why I'm saying that you should be attentive is, I know that only few of you must have seen a coral, live coral. Only few of you must have been knowing about coral reefs. And how many of you know that we are all innocent murderers? Means that we are killing these animals unknowingly. And by doing that, what we are doing is we are putting ourselves, even our existence, into question. Our generations will be in danger. They are in danger. So we have to do something to make this sad story, sad love story, into a very joyous one. It is in your hands. So please be attentive. There is one more reason why I'm asking you to be attentive is that the Judgment Day has started. That means we are already on the threat. The 6th mass extinction has already started. So far, 5 mass extinctions have happened after the life originated. Now we are in the 6th mass extinction. And I'm telling you, whenever the mass extinction occurs, the dominant species gets affected very badly. You may not be knowing or agreeing to this, but just see this. There are 5 mass extinctions of the life originated. And in the last mass extinction, 65 million years ago, you can see here that the mighty dinosaurs have vanished. When compared to mighty dinosaurs, we are nothing. You should remember that. Okay, so keep that in mind, that we are trying to do something for the animals only to save ourselves, not to just save them. So it's a 250 million-year-old love story. I will be introducing the lovers, about the lovers, the hero and the heroine. You have to find out the villain, and you have to convert the villain into a hero. Okay, now let's go. So this scientist, he has told in 2001 itself that all the corals are going to vanish by 2050. But this itself, I am telling you, since I am diving in all the reef regions in our country now also, I tell you that, and whatever is happening around the world is very sad, and the corals will not last long up to 2050. And I hope that whoever is working on corals will agree to this. So whichever you Google and see, you will find mostly this information about best coral reefs. Coral reefs are less known and overexploited resources, because I know that very few of you must have seen a coral so far, but you are also responsible for their death, and then they are being overexploited. They contribute, even though they occupy only 1 to 2% of the Earth's surface, they contribute 25% of the fishery yield. So that itself shows that they are overexploited, unfortunately, even though we know very less about them. See, my presentation is very limited because it's 20 minutes time which is given, and already we lost some time. So I'll quickly tell you what a coral is, what coral reefs are, and what are the major coral reefs in our country and what is their status. And as a scientist from Zoological Survey of India, I feel proud to say that we have got the largest scientific diving team in India. We have done a lot of things in all the reef regions. I'll be speaking about them also. And finally, when it comes to saving coral reefs, the only alternative is coral restoration. And my buddy, Chandran, who is mainly responsible for all the achievements we have made, will be speaking about the restoration part at the end. So now we'll go into the main love story. The love story starts now. So the main hero is this beautiful polyp. See, the cnidarians are primitive animals. First, the single-celled animals came into existence. Then we have porifera with only cellular organization. And first issued animals are cnidarians, means these corals. And they have a very, that is why they have a very simple organization of body, a cylindrical body with the tentacles on the top to catch something to eat. Okay, this is our hero. And it's not an ordinary hero, he's a very big hero because along with other calcium secreting plants and animals, he forms an It is actually the keystone species here. Without the hard coral, there is no coral reef ecosystem. Along with other hard, soft corals, then honey corals, and other corals, it is actually forming other calcium secreting plants and animals. This is forming a reef, a mountain-like structure, a beautiful paradise underwater. So I already told you that the small, tiny polyp is actually the hero because it has got the distinction of constructing the largest construction by any living organism. If you take human beings, the largest construction is Great Wall of China. And when you look underwater, there is a longer chain of reefs found by these tiny animals, which is called as Great Barrier Reef, Australia. You may be knowing about Great Barrier Reef. Most of you may be knowing about Great Barrier Reef, Australia. Okay. So coral reefs are called as paradises underwater. So the story now we are going to speak about is paradise, which is going to be lost. Okay. So why it is called as a paradise underwater? Now you can see why it is called as a paradise underwater. It's a beautiful environment. In my experience, I'm telling you, I faced some difficulties underwater many times. Even though the diving is not at all dangerous, it's adventurous. I faced some difficulties, and people ask me why you are still going into the water. I can say only one thing. That is, instead of living 100 years on Earth, if you live 1 hour underwater, that is useful to you. So now you yourself will see. I'll just show you a glimpse of a beautiful video we have got here on coral reefs. So I just wanted to show that video to you, where it will take you to the underwater world. So sorry, friends. It's an excellent video. Underwater reef adventure made by McDowell Reef. Fortunately, we could not play that. So we'll proceed with the presentation.
Sure.
Just the mighty underwater paradise, the coral reefs are found by, these are the main reef builders. Corals are of 3 types based on their skeleton: hard corals. You can see here, this is the hard coral, honey corals, and soft corals, depending on their skeleton. And then, in addition to that, other calcium secreting plants and animals also contribute to the formation of the reef. And they are very useful to us. Each and every inch of coral reefs are useful to us. Directly, they give us many things, like for consumption, they are giving us food in the form of fishery. Then we have shells, we are getting pearls, everything. And indirect wells, if we take, they are the paradise underwater. So many countries are totally dependent on coral reefs for tourism. So they are giving us food, fossil, medicines, and they, in the form of produce, they are giving us shells, pearls, corals, and tourism. So they are very useful to us. Each and every inch is useful to us. You can see here, they are the nature's natural sanctuaries of biological diversity. Except the amphibians, you can find all the coral reef, all the other representatives of animals in coral reef areas. Okay, and when you see here, they are the breeding and nursery ground, because they provide excellent environment for fishes to breed. So even though they occupy only 1% of the earth surface, they contribute 23% of the fishery yield. So they give us good food and fisheries. In addition to that, since they are beautiful underwater because of the plenty of juveniles swimming underwater with all the representative organisms. They give us tourism and recreation, and many medicines can be extracted from the representatives of the coral reefs. They also protect us from cyclones and tsunamis because they are the first line of defense. Wherever it is shallow, the tsunami or the big wave will actually crash there. So we are all safe when coral reefs are around us. In addition to that, they give us many things for ornamental trade as well. So what is happening is, since they are giving everything, we are trying to exploit each and every aspect of them, each and every inch of them. And they are very important and very rare resource because they are found only on both sides of the equator, and they live within a limited temperature and salinity conditions. Even though they occupy only 2% of the Earth's surface, they contribute 20% of the fishery yield, which actually supports 65% of the coastal world population. Now coming to heroine, each and every aspect of coral reefs is very fascinating, and this is another fascinating information. Our heroine is none other than a plant called zooxanthellae. I told you earlier that they are very primitive animals. They are attached. They have only few small tentacles. So with the small tentacles, they can only catch some of the animals. So what they are doing now, what they have done 250 million years back is they allowed these plants to live in their tissues, and they said, okay, come, we'll live symbiotically. What polys do is they get from the plants, they get food. Zooxanthellae, they trap solar energy like any other plant, and they actually give 80% of the food produced by them to corals. And in return, what they get is the waste material of coral is their nutrient. So they take away that, and in addition, they are getting shelter. So coral is getting food. It is getting food, and at the same time, its waste material is removed, and the color is also given by zooxanthellae. In return, the plants are getting shelter, and they are also getting food in the form of the waste material of these polyps. So both are benefited, and this is the love story which I am speaking about. You can see here from the sunlight, they trap solar energy, and 80% of the food produced is given to the corals. So now we'll try to find out the villain. I think we all know very well who is the villain. Now we have to change the villain to hero. Okay, since they are giving us everything, each and every inch of coral reefs are useful to us. Since they are giving us everything, what we are trying to do is we are trying to exploit each and every inch, all kinds of fishing methods, overfishing, destructive fishing, blast fishing, poison fishing. They are mining corals. We are polluting the environment when we are going for tourism. We are putting sediment into the coral reef areas, and we are not at all controlling tourism. And there are many coastal developmental activities coming up in coral areas because they are the paradises underwater, ornamental trade. With all these things, we are causing problem to coral reefs. Coral reefs grew only on an average 1.5 centimeter. And unfortunately, you can see here, they are dragging the net and killing them in no time. And this lady is sitting with the beautiful ornamental mollusks which are available underwater. And people are at frenzy to eat the fishes here. And here there are certain things like they use cyanide for collecting the ornamental fishes and leave the cyanide to kill the corals. And here they use blast fishing. They throw dynamites into the water and then collect fishes for selling. And here uncontrolled tourism. This man is not knowing about swimming, but he wanted to go on coral reefs. He's walking on the coral reefs and killing them. Tourism, with tourism, we are adding oil and we are throwing waste into the water. So we are literally destroying everything in the coral reef areas. All these components which are there in coral reef areas, like excellent seahorses, the very rare coconut crab. Then here, the only marine mammal which is there, which is very much endangered, herbivorous marine mammal, the beautiful dugong, with which people started explaining about the mermaids, everything, whatnot. We are not leaving anything underwater, and everything is actually exploited. So unfortunately, what is happening now is, earlier it used to be anthropogenic threats which are threatening coral reefs. Now natural threats are also competing. You can see here this beautiful corona starfish. It likes to feed on coral reefs. It comes in bloom proportions and eat away large chunks of coral reefs. And in addition to that, the most dangerous thing which is happening now is global, the bleaching events which are occurring. Once they used to occur once in 20 years, 35 years like that, but now it has become a regular feature every year or an alternate year, we are finding bleaching. Now itself, you must have experienced a scorching sun outside. So that is actually causing the bleaching. What is bleaching and what is happening there? See, I will tell you about it. So once these events occur, corals become very weak and they also get diseases. And unfortunately, we have another added attraction here. Tsunami is another threat. So what is bleaching and in which way the corals are getting affected? Whenever there is a threat, whether it is increase in the temperature or decrease in the temperature, any other threat, the first thing the zooxanthellae do is they diverse their partners. The zooxanthellae are thrown out. Once they are out, they lose their color, they lose their food, and finally they die. That is what is happening all around the world now. You can see here in this coral, this area is bleached, this is live, and on the right side you can see totally they become pale. If that happens only for few for a limited period, automatically the zooxanthellae comes back. If it continues and with 1 degree increase in temperature, zooxanthellae cannot come back, and ultimately corals die. The first global mass bleaching event occurred in 1998. So corals are there in more than 100 countries on both sides of the equator. And all these countries affected in 1998. And you don't believe within that 1 year, almost 20% of the coral reefs died. So you can imagine that these 250 million years old coral reefs can vanish within no time, just like that. I don't know how many of you have watched the movie 2012. Friends, I am telling you, if you are not awake, certainly that is going to be a reality. Okay, so there is a scientific prediction on these coral reefs. They say that 27% of the world's coral reefs are going to die by 2000 and 60% by 2030. I am telling you, already 60% are all gone. Not after 2030, now itself 60% gone. And the 2100 is a very, very optimistic projection which is given. The corals are under severe threat and they are sure to vanish. This is actually a photograph taken when we have done a study, a post-tsunami assessment study in Andaman Nicobar. We have gone to the northernmost Andaman Reef Islands called Landfall Island. You can see here, I'm standing here, the red t-shirt. Above me, 1.5 meters, it was underwater. So all these things got exposed. You can see this coral is about 2 meters in height. That is also gone. That is on the surface. So square window to kilometers together, all the corals are gone. How brutal is the tsunami? You can see here, 3 people are sitting on a coral chunk, which was brutally thrown onto the land in Nicobar area. So if you look at our resource, coral reef resource, we have something to feel proud, but at the same time, we have something to feel very much ashamed. We are 10th in the world with 5,790 square kilometers of reef area, but much of it is under very, very pathetic state. So if you take our reefs, Andaman Nicobar is okay, but the degraded reefs are Lakshadweep, Gulf of Mannar, and Kutch is the worst affected reef in the world. So if you take the major reef regions in our country, we have mainland reefs, Gulf of Mannar, Pag Bay, and Gulf of Kutch as the mainland reefs. And island reefs, if you look at the island reefs, Lakshadweep, Andaman Nicobar are our island reefs. So island reefs are to some extent they can escape, but not the mainland reefs because they're very close to the human inhabitation. And Lakshadweep is the worst affected in the global mass bleaching event. So if you look at these reef regions, you can see here, there are about 34 islands with coral reefs, even though there are 42 in Gulf of Kutch. And we have beautiful atoll reefs in Lakshadweep with lagoons. And you have 21 islands here in between the Sri Lanka and Tamil Nadu. And you have about 520 islands in Andaman Nicobar. All around you have patchy reefs. So we have coral reefs all around, but these are the 4 major ones which are under severe threat. So these are some of the corals I have collected when I dived along the coast. So they are solitary. This kind of solitary corals are there in Orissa. This is from Andhra Pradesh. So you have corals everywhere. And Gulf of Mannar, if you take Gulf of Mannar, there are 21 islands, but unfortunately here, human inhabitation is very high. So 50 villages are dependent on this and they are under severe threat. And if you take the Gulf of Kutch, here the main problem is sedimentation and industries. And if you take Lakshadweep, The main problem here is it is in the open sea. So global warming is a major problem to them. At the same time, coral mining is also done because they wanted some building material there. In Andaman Nicobar, I felt very happy when the tsunami struck. I thought that people will not go there, but something different happened there. What happened is the government wanted, it is a strategic area, so they wanted to have people there, and there is coastal development. They are given many incentives, and you have many 5-star, 4-star, 3-star hotels there, which is very, very detrimental to coral reefs. So Jettersign, we have done studies in all the reef regions. I'm not going into the details now because of lack of time. And we have done an excellent study. What Jettersign has done is, we are literally, before we took up, there was only one man working on coral reefs. Now we have trained many people, and we have played a catalytic role in Indian coral reef research. So now we have people working in all the reef regions. I myself have trained more than 500 people. So JDSI has started the Indian Coral Reef Monitoring Network along with our parent institution, Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. And we have started our regional center at Andaman Nicobar is converted into National Coral Reef Research Institute. And this is an excellent study we have done in an batch. 3 scientists from India, including me, and 1 from Australia and 2 from UK. 6 of us, we went and then surveyed all the reefs in Andaman Nicobar. So what we found is mind-boggling information, because 1998, they said, one study said that 98% of the Andaman Nicobar is gone. But we studied and found that only 2%. And we have reported many new records there. Like Gulf of Kutch is totally a different environment because of the tidal amplitude. It is a turbid environment. But here also we made studies. And in Lakshadweep also, we have made studies thoroughly. And what we found is, when the algal cover, whenever corals die, automatically algae takes over. When the algal cover comes down, then live coral comes back and then it starts growing. Now it is actually trying to improve. So I made a list of all the reef regions, what is the reef type when they are actually made into marine national parks, what is their diversity, everything. This is the list which I made, and I found out that the main reason for this lack of awareness, very few people know about it. They go and then destroy coral reefs. Poverty of the fishermen. There is another problem which is that the greediness of the middlemen. Middlemen, they go from the mainland, they give money in advance to fishermen, take away their produce for a lesser price, and then the fishermen's poverty level will be the same. They'll be going and exploiting it. So this I have presented in the 9th International Coral Reef Symposium at Indonesia. And after that, some societies are formed and this is taken care of. And we have policy. All our corals are in Schedule 1 now. That means they are equal to tiger. Even if you kill a coral, it is almost like equal to killing a tiger, and you will be behind bars for 6 years. This came into existence in 2001. July, they are included in Schedule 1. But unfortunately, we could not implement it much just because the fishermen are poor and we cannot put them behind bars for going for fishing there in the coral reef area. So the local law enforcement authority, they could not do anything. There's a weakness in the law enforcement. And Forest Department could not implement because Fishery Department wanted more fish to be caught, but not in the coral reef areas. But people go to coral reef areas because a lot of fish is available there. So finally, what we are doing is, we are cutting down the egg laying. So there are many laws, and among them the most important one is Wildlife Protection Act. In this only, all the coral reefs are brought, all the main reef components are all brought into Wildlife Protection Act Schedule 1. And if you take, ministry has already done many things, like we should not throw anything in coral reef areas. There should not be any kind of activity there. Mining should not be there. There should not be any throwing of wastage there. And capacity building we have done stupendously. And there is an amendment of Wildlife Protection Act in July 2001. And with this, there is a lot of changes we have seen in coral reef areas. There's a lot of development we have seen. Biodiversity Authority of India is also formed. So when we are feeling that, okay, something good is happening and the Lakshadweep and Andaman Nicobar are growing, this is actually a report given by the SAC, Space Application Center, in 2010. Suddenly, there is another mass bleaching event. So this time, even Andaman Nicobar is also affected. 30 to 70% of it is affected. And the worstest of all is actually between 2014 to 17. Great Barrier Reef Australia got affected. Half of the Great Barrier Reef is gone. So corals are under severe threat. The government has taken all kinds of steps. Marine national parks are everywhere. And one more thing you can see, the animals are also trying to do something for the coral reef. When I'm doing some study in Lakshadweep, I heard this chirping noise and I looked around. These fishes are in bloom proportions. They are coming and then eating away all the algae, trying to help the coral reefs to come up. So this is stupendous, but unfortunately, what is happening is we are unable to progress just because human intervention is more. When they actually made all the stingrays into Schedule 1, immediately they started exploiting something else. So unless the local population, I made actually a chart out a plan for cure and prevention. So with all these components, we have a shield like this with a main marine protected authority with all the components and most importantly, the community management. Without local people's participation, we cannot really achieve the conservation. We cannot really do anything. That is the fact. And for really doing something for the corals, you need not spend anything from the pocket. They are contributing US dollar 375 billion.
Excuse me, sir. So I think we are running out of time. So maybe during the discussion session, we can you can.
It is going to be over now. I'll just finish it. Okay, so we need not pay much for this. So tourism, if we develop tourism, that itself will give us a lot of money. So in a nutshell, what is happening is this is a summary. All coral reefs are threatened. Natural factors are also helping the anthropogenic things. Frequency of intensity of global warming is increasing. Government has taken steps, but we are unable to proceed just because of the human interference. And the most important thing is intervention of all of us is more important. So we all have to come together to do something. This is the end of the love story. And by now you all may be knowing who is the villain. And we are the villains. And what we have to do is, the first thing is we have to reduce the carbon footprint. I told you in the beginning itself that we are all innocent murderers. Unknowingly, we are killing it because we are adding to global warming. So you please reduce your carbon footprint. You are doing something very great to the coral reefs for saving these animals. So whenever I deliver a lecture, I appreciate the organizers at this juncture because awareness creation is very, very important for the conservation. So what I suggest is take a piece of paper, write 10 numbers and start creating awareness. 10 people you tell them and ask them to spread the message. So this great man is the one who has actually invented the aqualine. He said that it's an everlasting shame we are unable to save the coral reef. So we should remember that no existence without coexistence. Let corals live, then only we can live. Okay, thank you. And I'm telling you one more time that women plays a major role in coral reef because most of the divers and most of the researchers are women. And this is our director, Jayati Banerjee. He always supports people in research and we are helping people. If you wanted to join all the efforts which we are giving, you can also join. This is my email address. And I'm telling you, the most important thing is coral restoration. I think my buddy, Dr. Chandran, will be speaking about it a little later. You can note down my phone number and email address. Whenever you want, you can contact me. Even in the midnight, because I have taken permission from my wife. Okay, all the best.
Thank you so much, Dr. Satyanarayana, for your informative session. Now I would like to invite Dr. Chandran. He would be talking on conservation of coral reefs during the era of climate change. He works with the Ministry of Environment and Climate Change, Abu Dhabi, UAE, and he is an octocoral taxonomist. And one interesting thing about him is that he has discovered a new species of soft coral from Gulf of Mannar Marine Biosphere Reserve. Welcome, Dr. Chandran. Over to you.
Yeah, audible?
Yeah, it's better.
Okay.
Better.
Okay. Good evening, one and all. I'm just continuing the presentation of Dr. Satyanarayana, sir. So, I'm not my outline of the presentation. I'm not covering the introduction about the coral reef, the distribution, and everything. I'm directly moving into the restoration. So, Dr. Satyanarayana sir explained the degradation, the pathetic situation of the wild coral reefs. The only solution is only solution is that restoration of corals. So due to this global climate change, the branching corals belonging to the family Acroporidae are very prone to the climate change. They are about to extinct throughout the world. In Elkhorn and Staghorn corals, already for more than 90% of that type of corals have extinct from the Caribbean region and our Indo-Pacific region as well. So in some parts, most of the Acroporidae corals are being extinct. So this is the need of the hour. We should take up that conservation initiative to conserve the coral reef and its associated biodiversity. So, coral reef restoration is the process of assisting. So, coral reef restoration is the only solution for the conservation of coral reef ecosystem of the world. So, traditionally, we have been following coral propagation through underwater coral nurseries, coral gardening, coral transplantation, coral translocation, and land-based facilities for artificial spawning and other things to promote the uh, uh, propagation. Now we have a latest technology for the coral restoration is called biorock reef. So these are the coral transplantation methods we have been using for the conservation of coral reef. Is it visible? My slides are visible?
Yes, yes, please continue.
Yes. Then coral
No, the
transplant.
slide did not move, huh? Sorry.
Now is it moving?
Yes, now it's moving. Yeah, thank you.
Okay. So the coral transplantation is a simple methodology. So following some scientific method, we have been breaking small fragments of coral and planting in other region, like cutting cutting up a rose plant and planting in another area, like that only. But it's a very effective method to propagate coral species on the coral reef ecosystem. The coral translocation is the moving of, lifting of, means uprooting of coral from uh, one location to a better location where they can survive well. So the land-based facilities we use laboratory or ex situ facilities in that we can induce, we can fragment when we can induce breeding the corals and we can make the n number of propagules, young ones. So despite of all these conservation efforts, our coral reef is our coral. We have been losing all our coral reef ecosystem. Even the marine protected area concept is also not effective wholly. So presently the world scientists have been following resilience based coral reef restoration. That if, there are a lot of parameters are there, criteria which can help the coral reef ecosystem to uh, it's revert back to the original condition, even though some what is that? Even though some unwanted events happen, like mass coral bleaching and coral disease events. So these the resilient based the factors which are supporting the resilience of the coral reef, we identified the local threats and everything. We can frame management plans according to the resilience of the reef. We can save the coral reefs from the future degradation. So the next one is the marginal and high latitudinal reefs. So if you see that the corals are normally distributed on the both side of the equator. Yeah, yeah. So if the corals which are far away from the equator, they are called as marginal or high latitudinal reefs. That if you see, look up, it's diversity is not much like the equator coral reef. They are not even as much pristine as the equatorial coral reef. But these marginal reefs are very much important for the climate change, global climate change, as and they are more supporting more reef, more coral species, and uh, they are act as the refugia for the coral reefs for during this what is that? This is during this changing global climate change. So, for conserving this marginal and high latitude reefs are high priority for the time being when this global climate change is happening rapidly. So, these are the marginal reefs distributed on along the both side of the equators, identified by these marginal reefs are not like the optimum conditions for coral reef to thrive, but still they are the corals living on these marginal reefs are adapted themselves to grow thrive well on some extreme climates. The marginal environment, they may experience extreme climates like high salinity, high sea surface temperature, and so on. But still, they are thriving well. They are adapted well to thrive in that ecosystem. So they are the regions where we have the corals find them refugia and thriving. The recent studies also the evidence that the corals from the equator regions keep migrating towards the marginal reefs. So, conserving these marginal reefs are very much important for the climate change point of view. So we have, as part of the Zoological Survey of India, under Dr. Satyanarayana's guidance, we could get the chance to restore such two kinds of marginal reef. One is in India, the Gulf of Kutch. The another one is one reef in UAV waters. I'm coming to the Gulf of Kutch. It's India's first marine protected area, and it's located on along the northwest coast of India, the Gujarat coast. So the marginal condition is that it's one of the northernmost region in the Indo-Pacific region. It's not like a optimal climate for the coral reef to survive, but still there are corals. Uh, the problem with Gulf of Kutch is the large tidal amplitude. During low tide, some kilometers of coral reef will be exposed on the sunlight, so they always degraded ecosystem only. So other than that, we have very high water current there, drifting lot of sediments, so which affect the visibility of the water. So corals will be you will not see very pristine condition in Gulf
Yeah.
of Mexico. So, but still, we have some resilient populations of corals in Gulf of Kutch. Among the Indian coral reefs regions, Gulf of Kutch only, I would say that Gulf of Kutch coral reefs are highly resilient than any other reefs in the country. So, we should conserve. This is the Gulf of Kutch corals are very high priority for us to for the conservation. So these are some of the exposed reef showing live corals on the Gulf of Kutch. Even other than the corals, we can see plenty of pristine biodiversity also. So most of the coral reefs are occupied by this fossilized acropora coral beds only, because some 1,000 years, 10,000 years back, it was like a pristine branching coral reef. Now they are completely extinct from branching corals, all completely extinct naturally, locally. As a through the Zoological Survey of India, we have taken some initiative to restore back the branching corals again in the Gulf of Kutch. So through some scientific strategies and methods, uh, So we have studied all the diversity, all the reefs regions, and identified potential sites all along the reef. We have also selected branching corals from Gulf of Mannar, which is almost equal as far as concerned with the sedimentation profile. Uh, so these are the this is the photo showing the teams who worked on the Gulf of Kutch coral transplantation. So we have transplanted corals from Gulf of Mannar, 2,500 kilometers far from the recipient site, Gulf of Kutch. It's one of the longest coral transportation successfully done. We used air and road. We used flight and road to bring the branching coral collected from the donor site Gulf of Mannar to Gulf of Kutch. It was one of the first of its kind attempt in restoring branching corals in highly sedimented water in the world. So it was a very successful attempt. We could initially we could restore 1,550 square meter area with branching corals of 7 centimeter size. Uh, after monitoring them in the nursery for about a year, they thrived well up to 40 centimeters, 2 feet diameter colony. Also, we have the grown colony grown up to 40 centimeter size. So these are the sequential photos of branching corals growing nursery. From that, we also continued the post-transplantation care also. We have monitored the sedimentation, controlling fouling organisms. Then the zooxanthellae count also we have been monitored. It was one of the first attempts in the world. We restored successfully the branching coral again in the Gulf of Kutch after 10,000 years back. So this is one of the very one of the kind attempt by the ZSI under the supervision of Dr. Satyanarayana sir. This is the branch coral which is grown from 7 centimeter to 40 centimeter size colony. So likewise, we have that from this nursery we have collected, we have fragmented corals and we made restored about 2,000 square meter area in the Gulf of Kutch. So these are the photos of branch corals growing on the Gulf of Kutch reefs. So the again the next step of coral transplantation is the BioRock technology. It's the latest technology. So we have used BioRock technology also in the Gulf of Kutch restoration of corals in the Gulf of Kutch. So this is a team, the collaboration of the scientists and the NGOs, local the directors of Zoological Survey of India, Dr. Satyanarayana, and Dr. Thomas Gorio from US also collaborated with us for this effort. So BioRock is the base. It's a simple technology, works on the basis of simple electrolysis power process in which some low voltage electricity is being used for the restoration of coral reef. So in that the low voltage electricity can stimulate the carbonate deposition of the corals on the structure we have been using. Then they also promote the corals to grow rapidly. So very interestingly, this is the chemical reaction happens. Through that, very rapidly we can have a fully functional reef in 4 or 5 years. Otherwise, the corals, as Sar said, corals will grow only 1.5 centimeter a year. But using this BioRock technology, we can have a fully functional within very short period, which is very much needed for this global climate change point of view. So the BioRock coral reef is the need of the hour to conserve all our degraded reefs. So interestingly, this BioRock reef is also mitigate the mass coral bleaching event also. In Gulf of Kutch, we have evidence their rapid recovery from coral bleaching events. while the natural reefs are still affected with bleaching. So this would be the future coral reef restoration method, which can be adapted for all the reefs. As evidence, the experience we have evidence through the Gulf of Kutch restoration this thing. So this is, as you see, these are the white color accretion calcification happen on the structure. So when the years goes, the structure also will be getting stronger and stronger day by day, while the corals on that also get growing very faster. These are the corals thing. This installation of coral reef, Biorock reef with solar powered Biorock reef in the Gulf of Kutch. This is the structure, underwater structure is going to be deployed underwater. On that, corals will be tied. So this is tying corals on the structures. This is what Biorock will work. So the next day itself, the Biorock reef will support a huge number of fish assemblage also. Then about the results of the Biorock also very interesting, very encouraging. Corals species tied on the Biorock grow very faster, very well. Then their accretion rates also in Gulf of Kutch. So again, another we also have taken initiative to translocated a huge, one of the largest coral translocation in the country and the world. We have translocated some 16,000 coral colonies from for the development project. So, following some scientific methodology. So this is also one of the largest effort we have taken for the conservation of Gulf of Kutch reef. So coming to this Arabian Gulf, the UAE water is one of the hottest sea in the world. So there also we have coral bleaching impacts every year, almost every year. So the Akrapura branching corals are under the peril of extinction there. Very rare places only we have branching coral species. So this is the unlike all our the tropical reefs. This Abu Dhabi reefs are very much different. We cannot find much growing reef structures. Only very scattered outcrops of reefs only will be there. So that also will be affected due to this mass bleaching and all. So for this very challenging environment for the conservation. So for that also we have taken initiative to restore such very degraded ecosystem. Over there for the traditional method we use the cinder block method for the transplantation of coral. We use coral trees. These are the different kind of traditional methods being used. We also used steel mesh frame and everything. So again, we also tried Biorock also in Gulf of Kutch. This worked successfully. We also successfully in Abu Dhabi water also. During summer, this Abu Dhabi water sea surface temperature rise up to 45 degrees. The salinity also rise up to 52 ppm. But still, these corals are thriving well. But hopefully, due to this Biorock reef, we can conserve this branch corals from mass extinction in Abu Dhabi. So these are the Biorock installed in Abu Dhabi water. So conservation and our responsibility already Dr. Sir has explained a lot. Thank you so much. This much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Chandran. It's amazing to learn about your wonderful initiative to restore coral reefs. Now, since we are running short of time, I would quickly invite Smyrna, who is our young discussant, introduce her. She is doing her BSc in biotechnology from Loyola Degree College, Hyderabad. Smyrna, I would like to request you to lead this question and answer session. Everyone, we now open the floor for question and answer session. So if you have any questions, you can please raise your hands or you can type your question in the chat box. Smyrna, you can please start.
Yeah. Yes, thank you so much, ma'am, for giving me this wonderful opportunity. And thank you, sirs, for your wonderful and informative presentations. It was very interesting. So I will start on with my questions. So, sir, as you have told that we are given, they are given about this, they are given policies, laws, and to protect the coral reefs. So even though there are these laws and protection, why is there an extinction for these coral reefs?
Yeah. The main thing is the local population have to participate. Without that, we cannot achieve any kind of conservation. Okay. Because for people are dependent on coral reefs for a long period, and if you want to stop them, you should provide them some alternative employment, and you also make them get involved in the conservation activity. So there is one example which I can give you. Now the largest restored reef in the world is in Pemuteran, Indonesia. When I was there in Indonesia in 2000, Dr. Thomas Gorio has actually invited me for getting a training in the Biorock. Now, when we went there was nothing. Literally, it was all damaged due to blast fishing. And their head was actually sitting like a beggar with a torn cloth. And he was looking at our presentation, what we are learning, everything. But now, if you see the video, he'll be like a king, actually wearing a safari suit. How this transformation occurred is, once the reef started forming, then tourists started going there. For tourists providing the food, their accommodation, diving facility, boats, everything is money. So the local population has become very rich. And even if you try to go and then destroy it, they will not allow you to destroy it. In addition to that, they have chosen another innovative thing. What they have done is, they took money from the people, whoever is coming, and making the structures with their names. So you have seen the structure, it is only an iron structure, where you can put the names of the loved one. Okay, so people love to pay the money, and in that way they had more structures, and now that has become the largest restored reef in the world. So this is how we should go about. Instead of try to put laws forcibly onto the people, we should make them get involved. Okay, this is one thing. And second thing is, we cannot stop development. At the same time, we can ask the corporate people who are actually having the industries to pay more for having more structures and and actually go for conservation. That is what IOCL is doing now. So this is how we can go for conservation. Otherwise, with the laws, there will be only paper laws.
Thank you, sir. So, sir, do we have any task force like now for forest protection? There are police and there's a force that protects the forest. So, do we have for this marine system someone like that who has the responsibility of protecting it or something?
Yes. See, the Ministry of Environment and Forest, there is one big body where they have a separate committee to take care of the mangroves and coral reefs. They have committee. In addition to that, Forest Department is given the responsibility of taking care of the coral reefs, and they are doing a good job. There's a lot of transformation. When we started, only conservator, not even conservation forests are there to take care of the coral reefs. Now, IFS, IS officers, everybody are there, and some conservation is happening, and it is progressing.
Thank you, sir. Sir, so as you told that these these reefs protect us from storms and erosions, but still we see tsunamis and all occurring. So why is that?
Yeah, because of us, global warming, climate change. We are adding to global warming. It is ending up in climate change. Because of that, lot of cyclones. Even now, there is one cyclone which is going to strike the Gujarat coast, our people are unable to go to the field. The frequency has increased. Bleaching is happening. So it is all in our hands. Not only the local population, but also we also have to reduce our carbon footprint. Then only we can prolong. I am telling you that we cannot avoid the inevitable of the doomsday, but we can prolong and try to save our generation.
Okay, sir.
Dr. Satyanarayana, I have a question. As you mentioned that this conservation or restoration is now under a Department of Forest. So I actually would like to understand this governance or institutional aspect of coral restoration. That why it's not water resources management or environmental department or fisheries department, but the forest department. Like, is it like because they are working on mangroves or other coastal areas? Like, what could be the reason?
They have the base everywhere. Forest department has the force and the base. That's the reason why it is given to them. For example, if you give it to the fisheries department main objective is to have more fish yield and to catch more fish. Okay, it's not the production. And I will tell you an interesting thing. When we went there in 2008 to the coral reef area, we went to Gulf of Mannar. At that time, that gentleman who was there, 1998 in fact, not 2008, he was telling us, sir, see how nicely we are growing. Then we told him, what are you growing? He was showing me the island. And he is trying to say that they are growing mangroves. I said, what for you are here? Do you know that? He was not aware. The ranger was not aware. And I told them that you have to protect the corals which are there underwater, not the mangroves. Growing mangroves is not your mandate. Since he has come from the forest department, he is thinking that he has to grow trees. Okay,
yeah, exactly. This was my question, and then it's an irony that, for example, fisheries department, they are just concerned about the protection or increasing the yield, but not like habitat conservation or protection is not part of their agenda. So it's like sometimes very sad or unfortunate to see this kind of fragmentation.
Yeah, but now there is a change. So after that, we met the PCCS, everybody, and as I told you, at that time it is only undergraduates, graduates who are there trying to manage. But now it's IAS and IAS officers who are trying to do it. There is a lot of change in our country.
Thank you so much. Smyrna, I think you can also request the audience if they have any questions, they can raise their hands.
Yes, ma'am.
Or maybe you can pick up some questions from the chat box.
Yeah, because there are some interesting questions asked by them.
Yeah.
I can see one. Are you short of funds for doing conservation of corals? Not at all. Shishadri has asked a very apt question. Not at all. We have a lot of funds, and force is also increasing now. We can do everything, but the only thing is we have to take it positively and move forward. We should not say that it is very slow, and we should not try to play the blame game. That's what I said. Instead of stopping the development, we can join hands with the corporate and tell them that, okay, if you are destroying 1 square kilometer area, try to grow at least 10 square kilometer area in another place where we can have the coral. That is happening in Gujarat. That is how this all happened. And before we took up this coral transplantation work, there was some other agency, 2 agencies who tried and said it's not possible. But we did it with simple techniques. We have done it. So it's only passion and the environment is just very much necessary. That's why I was asked to deliver the TED talk. So unfortunately, we could not play this 2020 well because time is not sufficient. So what I suggest is people who wanted to know how we have done this, they can go and see the TED talk in the YouTube. Type my name and TED, then they will get that presentation. So we have to involve people and then try to do and progress together, not by blaming somebody.
Yeah, exactly. So I think
there's another question, sir.
Yeah, here. From Nityanand, I think.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay, so there's a question here, ma'am, to Dr. Chandran. How fossilization is used for restoration?
We don't hear you. We don't hear you.
I have replied on the chat box itself.
Yes.
Yeah, now we can hear you.
No, we don't hear you.
Now, hello?
Now we
Yeah,
hear you.
now.
Actually, I have replied on the chat box itself.
Okay,
Yes.
okay.
Okay.
I think there's another question from Mr. Nityanandan. He's asking that what is the survival percentage of Acropora transplanted in Gulf of Kutch, for which the donor colonies came from GOM, Gulf of Mannar.
It's more than 69%.
Wonderful.
We brought only 7 centimeter long fragments, and they have grown to more than 2 square feet size. Only one finger is brought, and you have seen the picture shown by Dr. Chandran. They have grown to such an extent. They have become very big.
May I ask a question, Jayati?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Dr. Satyanarayana, for the presentation, and also Dr. Chandran. And Smyrna, you were quite kind to your experts to ask questions, you know. So that's nice of you, but because the pictures were quite overwhelming and moving, you know. And then we are pushed to ask questions more on governance and management because we do not have knowledge of the being, you know, of the creature itself. So we are kind of asking questions on those lines where we know about things. So my question is to Dr. Chandran, when you were talking about these various methods, and the simple, common, I will say common citizen knowledge says for biology or any biodiversity that they are space specific. So when we are doing these experiments and moving coral from one place to other, and of course, I just heard that in one of the case study, it was 69% successful rate. Do we also really see the probability of changing ecosystem of that place? Because when we change the coral inhabitants from one place to other, and that reminds me of turtles, when they are relocated, they become sad for rest of their lives. So is something like this happening with the coral life also? And then I will just put my second question also so that I will save some time. Dr. Satyanarayana, my question to you is that, isn't it high time that biodiversity itself should be a ministry instead of, you know, hanging between, as we just discussed, and I think in every session this is coming out, that fishery itself is not so empowered, and forest has too many things to do, and it is already way too empowered to really take care of these gentle species. So why are we not canvassing for a ministry of biodiversity? It is high time. You have such a big network of people working in the biodiversity. Maybe Jayati and you can take this question towards the end. We can close it also with that question. But over to you, Dr. Chand.
Actually, the coral transplantation normally happen related to the development project.
I think you're putting your finger on the mic itself, so it gets very, very low. Huh? So
can you hear me now?
Yes, much better.
Okay. Normally, this coral transplantation happens related to the development projects only. If some industries want to have some development very next to the coral reef area, they want to move. But in that case, we have been studying all the ground truth parameters. We'll be translocating them in a better environment than their normal. So there will be always be a successful only.
To my surprise, when we actually finalized this session, I started looking at impact of Mundra port on the coral reef and Gulf of Kutch. And I was not surprised and saddened, actually, that there are not many studies available on the online. Either it is sabotaged, suppressed by the powerful men and the business. But now I learned from you that it can be also a business strategy to relocate from one place to other. So thank you so much for this answer. There are not many papers on impact, but there are a lot of agitation by people, that region. Thank you. Yes, thank you. Jayati?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would like to reply back to this. The first thing is you asked whether the environment will change. Okay, you asked a question to Chandran. In fact, what we have done is we have used the same species which were there available there. We have not brought anything new. Okay,
Okay.
we have made a study and we have brought only the species which were already
Native
available
ones.
Yeah.
earlier. With the fossilized sample, we identified the corals and we did it. And I took the help of carbon whalers also in identifying the species which can go better in sedimented areas. And in
Okay.
addition to that, see, we brought some corals from Gulf of Mannar. So they felt very happy and they grow very well when compared to their parents in Gulf of Mannar.
Oh,
The reason is we have chosen places where they are slightly better than the conditions in which they were actually growing. Okay, so I don't know whether you have shown the pictures there, but a few species which you have brought, usually during global warming, the massive corals, they survive well and the branching corals die. But in our case, the species which you have brought from Gulf of Mannar survived well. Then their parents who got affected due to global warming there, and they survived better than the massive corals which are there in Gulf of Mannar.
nice.
So that is one thing. So it's all in our hands. What we have to do, we have to properly think and then go out of box thinking is very much necessary for doing all this.
Yes.
And coming to the ministry which you have suggested, it may be a good idea in the future, but already we have many ministries. In fact, there is a replication of the same work happening everywhere. Almost Ministry of Earth Sciences, the work is getting overlapped. So I think we should have a body, the way we have the Great Barrier Reef Marine Protecting Authority there.
Yes.
That's why I said we should have an authority which can take care of within the Ministry of Environment Forest with all the wings covered. If it is separate, if the Ministry for Fisheries is separate, then law is separate, everything is separate, then we have problem. But if we have a body which can take care of all the other components, including the local community involvement, then we can achieve success.
Mansi, here I liked your question, and I think Dr. Satyanarayana has answered. So I also would like to add one point here. What I feel is that like we already have so many ministries because and they are like specifically working on different natural resources. So what I feel is that sustainability and biodiversity protection or ecosystem approaches should be part and parcel of all these ministries instead of like trying to have something separately and then again creating a confusion. I think this approach, this is about the approach. This is about our perspective, because this is what actually we are trying to do through this series, that this biodiversity or ecological perspective or sustainability should be part of all the initiatives or all the institutions, policies we have at present. So it should become integral part of the entire system.
Yes.
So whenever we are talking about water resources management, water resources ministry, why they should only look at water resources management or development? Why they should only be concerned about constructing a dam or constructing a pond or irrigation tank? Why they should not consider looking at these resources as ecosystems? So similarly, like the same thing with fisheries department. Why should they focus only on increasing the protection or yield? They should also think about the sustainability, about adopting like ecosystem or habitat protection approach. So I think it's all about the perspective, all about having this sustainability approach to everything which we do.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, so shall we are we calling it off for the day, Jayati?
Yeah, sure.
So we have gone overboard by almost half an hour. Thank you so much, Jayati, Chourey, for the wonderful session and always bringing wonderful speakers to really make us feel what are we doing to this planet, you know. So that's something I think this whole series is going to make all of us more, I will say, embarrassed, but in the process, as rightly mentioned by Dr. Satyanarayana, that we cannot really stop and do the blame game, but instead we have to walk along with the development process. So thank you, Dr. Satyanarayana, for the wonderful insights. We are sorry for the technical glitch that we could not play the video. We would really like to see the video. I wish and request you to please put it in the YouTube, and we can definitely promote the video across our network and around the world. Of course, it is also from your end, it can go there. So thank you, Dr. Chandran, for showing how it is really done. I mean, it's really nice. I wish I was really doing it under the water all my life, because I'm talking about water just sitting outside the water, and that's not fun. And of course, learning from all of you, it's really wonderful. And lovely Smyrna, you were quite kind, as I rightly mentioned in the beginning of your talk.
Thank you.
Please
so
take
much,
care of yourself and keep asking questions. That's the role of youth for the time being, until you become an expert of the subject area. Because when you ask questions, you also put us into difficult situations to really see and make us more accountable that are we doing right things. So before I close the session, I would also like to thank all the participants who have been joining us for Wednesdays for Water. Today is 99th session. So you can also see our interest and our convincing ability to really tell that water conversations are extremely crucial for water conservation. We have continued sessions going on. So next Wednesdays for Water, we have Riverscape series, when we talk about holistic approach in documenting water heritage. And it's also a series like Biodiversity Series, which goes on every third week. And this Friday, which is on 16th of June, we have our Friday Waters, and it is the third Friday when we have the Thesis Club, and we have a PhD scholar, namely Priyanka Kanhare, who is going to talk about impact of riverfront development on ecology of riverine ecosystem. And in there, we are again going to see the impact of development on ecosystem. And I'm going to pass on the words of Dr. Satyanarayana to that presentation, because there I play the role of discussant to ask questions, difficult questions to our presenter. So do keep checking our social media accounts and websites for the regular updates. We are always keeping the upcoming events there. We will continue our water conversations towards water conservation through Wednesdays for Water, Monday Munching with Women for Water, and Friday Waters. And we look forward to having you next Wednesday and the Wednesdays to come. Thank you so much, all of you. Please take care of yourself, and we see each other very soon. And please take care.